My name is Clint Fluker, and I'm coming from Atlanta, Georgia. And I like to start with my family. So I have a 9-year-old son named Zane. I have a 4-year-old daughter named Nilu, and I've been married to my wife now almost 14 years, Naseem. And she'll come up more in this talk because a lot of the stuff that we do it together. I'm also an artist, a filmmaker, and a writer when time permits. But during the workday, I'm the senior director for culture, community, and partner engagement for Emory University Libraries, the Michael C. Carlos Museum, and the Emory Center for Digital Scholarship. In this capacity, I'm responsible for developing initiatives that connect Emory's collecting institutions to the cultural and civic ecosystems of Atlanta. This is largely a public scholarship role meant to provide a cohesive strategy across these 7 distinct units to accomplish 3 main goals. Highlight the work of the archivists, the curators, the librarians, the digital scholars, and the museum professionals. Create lasting partnerships in our community with individuals and organizations, and develop institutional initiatives meant to endure. So we try and stay away from one-offs. And this work takes many forms, including exhibitions, symposiums, documentaries, artist residencies, lecture series, digital scholarship projects, scholarly articles, books, podcasts, internships, all the dope stuff. And I really came to this work largely as a scholar and a curator of Black archival collections. And I got my MA and PhD from the American Studies program at the Institute for Liberal Arts at Emory University.
So diving into professionalization, I'd love to know what your thoughts are about how professionalization opportunities and training are provided or not being provided to PhD students at your institutions. And there's a number of directions from which this could be approached. It could be your personal experience as a graduate student. It could be what you're seeing. It could be what you personally are doing. It could even be what you think we should be doing as institutions and training centers for graduate students in the future.
I actually think there's quite a lot of opportunities for this at Emory University. I will focus on 3 areas. One is fellowships and internships, and the other one is graduate research positions. Then one is artist residencies, which are pretty interesting. Often the opportunities that are available aren't seen as professionalization opportunities. They're just programs that happen, and I like to kind of reorient them. Also, I should note that I'm really interested in not just people who are in their PhDs, but also undergraduates who think they would like to do a PhD, because I think the training needs to start that early. If you go into a PhD program with an entrepreneurial attitude, I think it really helps the process moving through it. So, and also I'm mostly focused on people who are interested in doing curatorial work or working in archives and museums. That's my area of expertise, but it also does extend to people interested in public humanities generally. So first example of fellowships, an undergraduate fellowship and internship, is something that we run out of the Stuart Rose Library, and it's a partnership with the Benny Andrews Foundation and also with the Atlanta University Center Curatorial Studies program. So this is the AUC, as we call it, is where you have the HBCUs in Atlanta, Spelman College, Morehouse College, Clark Atlanta University, and ITC. So this partnership takes one student over the summer, and they work with the Benny Andrews Foundation for 1 month in New York to look at the art of Benny Andrews, who was famous, very important Black artist, particularly throughout the Black arts movement. And his archives are housed at Emory, his papers. And so they spend another month working with the curatorial staff and the archive staff at the archives at Emory. And in that process, they have to do an important thing, which is they have to curate an exhibit at the end of that summer fellowship. And that exhibit is either a physical exhibit or it is a digital exhibit of some kind that will live on the Benny Andrews website. While doing this, though, they have the opportunity to work with and be interviewed and have interviews with the directors of all these various programs, with local artists, with the estate of Benny Andrews, and really anyone else that they would like to meet. I tell them in advance, if you want to meet them, put them on a list, and we will figure out how we can get that done. Our most successful version of this, I think, really happened in 2023 when we started the program, where we had the opportunity to have Nadia Scott, who was a senior at Spelman, curate her own exhibit at the Carlos Museum. And it lasted for 3 months. And of course, some of our own curators were jealous. But through that training, she was incredible. And now she has gone off to being a PhD in art history, but really does have this profound interest in being a curator. So having already curated, then going into your PhD is really important for her trajectory. The graduate research programs that we have where you just like your GRA. Often people just, kind of go to the library and they sit at the desk and they just sort of pass the paper out or whatever it is, log people coming in and out. That is definitely something that people should do, but you can also do more with it. And one way in which we wanted to highlight that was last year, 2 years ago we did this, but then we started screening it this year. We did a documentary with the Academic Technology Studio, which is one of our units. And this documentary was really about Valerie Boyd, who is a very important editor and writer, biographer of Zora Neale Hurston, and edited the letters or the journals of Alice Walker before she passed away recently. What is important about that documentary and not just talking about her life and her papers that are housed at Emory, was really the interviews that we did to talk about her life and her research. We wanted to talk about specifically how graduate research assistants could use the archives to either be an archivist or to publish a book or to be a journalist like Valerie Boyd was. How do those people come to the archives? What's the process they go through? And we interviewed one of the graduate students that worked with Valerie Boyd throughout the entire process of her editing Alice Walker's journals for the book that was published, Gathering Blossoms. And her name was Nicole Morris Johnson. And she talked about what it was like to work with Alice Walker, what it was like to be in the editing process with Valerie Boyd. And so as we screen that documentary, it's actually targeted at students. It's a way to engage them, let them see how this kind of thing can actually work. Last but not least, artist residencies. I do a lot of exhibits, organize the exhibits, curate the exhibits. But what's most fun is when we get to partner with local artists. So very recently for the World Cup initiative that we have at Emory, we're calling it Footwork. We're having 3 exhibits that are at 3 different institutions across Emory. And they're all featuring archival collections about the history of Atlanta soccer that come from the archives. What's really fun about this, though, is we also have local artist named Charlie Palmer, who's teaching a class of students on how to actually get a commission and do a commission project. So he's been tasked with creating an image, a mural, based off of these archives. But rather than just have him go to the archives himself, we have him teaching a full class, going with the students, showing them what it means to do research as an artist, but then to have a product at the end that you're selling. And when he's done with it, after they've helped him with the mural and gone through all this process, they will then in the spring, he'll be teaching just that, artists and entrepreneurship. He'll have several lectures throughout the year to help people understand what they did and how he does it as a professional. So these are the types of things that we try and generate through my unit. And while they're seen sometimes as just programs, or maybe they're not seen as specifically for professionalization, that's always on our mind, is if we catch them as undergraduates and as graduate students, then maybe they'll have a better shot when they leave because they're already doing the work as opposed to thinking about doing the work.